Well, yesterday the Supreme Court came out with this huge judgment in the 1993 Bombay blast case, and 11 of the accused were given the death sentence. 10 of their sentences were commuted to life. And the reasons what the Supreme Court said basically were that many of them were like arrows. They were foot soldiers, whereas the masterminds, Dawood Ibrahim and Tiger Memon, they were the main conspirators. They were like the archers. Bachi, do you agree with this sort of reasoning that the Supreme Court has given? Because in that case, if their sentences were commuted, what about Kasab? He also was a foot soldier. The masterminds was Hafiz Saeed in Pakistan. He also was trained in Pakistan. Then why was he given the death sentence? He also was hung.
Tejas, you know, to start with, I want to say that I think I don't believe in the death sentence. And I think that putting away someone for life in prison is a much harsher sentence, because I think a death sentence just hangs him and that's over for him. Whereas if he's kind of really made to suffer in jail all his life, I think it's a harsher punishment. Having said that, since we have a death sentence on the statute books, I would completely agree with you and say that, yes, I mean, you know, whether they were archers or javelins or swords or whatever, they were really the hand that planted the bombs. And you know, anyone in Bombay at that time, Mumbai today, anyone in Bombay who went through that time will never really forget that day. You know, we've had terror attacks, we've had the train blast, we've had, of course, 26/11, but you know, March 12, 1993 was the defining moment. It was really the game changer in what this city was all about.
Right. Let me get in Ujjwal Nikam here. Ujjwal Nikam, if you go through the judgment very carefully, what the Supreme Court says, and it perhaps is rather vague, at least what I've read, it says cannot exonerate participation in the crime of these 10 accused, however, provides a somewhat nuanced picture, may imply their participation in massacres resulted from misguided notions rather than extremism. The point here is, the judges are saying it may imply. Now, isn't that something vague, and because of that, you commute their sentences? Would you agree, because you have handled both these cases, 26/11 and 1993?
Tejas, let me tell you at the outset, since it is a judgment of the Supreme Court, it is the law of the land and that is binding upon everybody. We can't make any comment upon the judgment of the Supreme Court. But having said so, let me tell you very frankly, so far as I am personally concerned, I don't agree with the reasoning assigned by the Honorable Supreme Court for two reasons. Firstly, you see, we can't make any distinction between the master and the person who is acting in persons of the direction given by master. When it is a case of a criminal conspiracy, both are equally liable even for the sentence. That is the consistent law as laid down by this Honorable Supreme Court in the past also. Even in Indira Gandhi's assassination case, even the accused Keir Singh, though he was not present at the spot, since he was one of the criminal conspirators behind the killing of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, he was sent to the gallows. I don't know how the Supreme Court has made this distribution and division amongst the different categories, that Yaqub Memon is one of the conspirators, though he has not actually, he was present at the time of the bomb blast, actually he had not planted. But similarly, the Supreme Court has said the other person who had planted the bombs, they acted as per the direction given by the main conspirator. But personally, if you'll ask me, then I must say that even in Kasab case, the Kasab was conspirator. He had not only acted in person the direction given by his master who was in the Pakistan, but he was one of the partner in the whole criminal conspiracy. Therefore, according to me, the other persons who have been sentenced for life imprisonment should also be awarded, should be given the death penalty.
He underwent training in Pakistan. He also was brainwashed by them. And in that case, it would also apply to Kasab also the same judgments. What we're trying to point out here is there is no consistency in what perhaps various courts are really saying. Let me get in Farhana Shah, who has represented many of these accused. Farhana, of course, you would not agree, because you do believe that you, in fact, argued for them that many of them actually were brainwashed by Dawood Ibrahim and by Tiger Memon, and therefore they are not as involved as these people really are.
Yes, of course. Definitely, I do believe that these people were not involved mainly on the contention that the Honorable Supreme Court, which has considered this judgment and the death sentence has been set aside, is that they have been in custody since their arrest from the year 1993. That is one of the bases. Besides that, they have 2 decades they are in custody. Then their age, family background, all the arguments were made and mitigating circumstances against them. Each and every aspect has been put forth before the court, and the Honorable Supreme Court has considered all those arguments, though they said that this was some of the arguments they do not accept, but still they said that these people were just the arrows and they were not the archers. The archers were somebody else who are still absconding, and they have differentiated on that grounds. So definitely I do believe whatever reasons they have given, basically they have gone through the evidence, they have gone through each and every aspect and the arguments made by us, and on that basis they have considered and commuted the sentence. So there is no such thing that they have not applied their mind or the reasoning is wrong.